Hello everyone, welcome to our careers special of the Waingels podcast. Today we chat to our alumni students about their careers and options journey.
Today we welcome Harry Light, who started Waingels in September 2009 and left Waingels sixth form in 2016 after completing his A-levels and taking up an apprenticeship with Microsoft. Thank you for agreeing to come on our podcast today. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get started. I'm currently in year 9 and I'm in the process of taking my GCSE options. Striking your mind back to 2012 when you were in year 9 and thinking about your GCSE options, what options did you take and why did you decide on these options?
Seems like a lifetime ago now, 12 years ago. So I had to go back and check this because I couldn't remember. I picked geography, IT, economics, and we had to pick a language, so I picked Spanish as well. I picked those because I enjoyed them the most. I wasn't sort of the most driven academically, so I thought I would do the ones that I thought I would enjoy, and yeah, that's really why I picked them.
I'm currently in year 10 and next year I'll be thinking about my post-16 options. Why did you choose to stay in the Waingels sixth form?
So I chose to stay at sixth form because when I was probably your age, I did have a career path in mind. I wanted to be a police officer, and when I was looking into it, it became apparent that they were now asking for a foundational degree in policing, which I wasn't aware of, but obviously to go and do a degree you need A-levels, so that's why I decided to stay on and do A-levels to become a police officer.
Did your GCSE options have any influence on the subjects you wanted to take for A-level? What subjects did you take for A-level?
So for A-level I took geography again, Spanish again, philosophy and ethics, and I also took psychology, but then I dropped that after year 12 because you drop one before you go into year 13. I carried on with Spanish because I enjoyed it. I wasn't necessarily expecting to use it in my later life, but it was a good skill to have. Geography again, more of the same, and philosophy and ethics I kind of did choose with the career path in mind because, you know, understanding different ways of thinking and things like that, and psychology as well. I thought that might help me, but really it was again just maintaining something that I thought I would be good at, to give myself a good chance of getting grades to get into university.
Was university ever an option for you, or did you always know you wanted to start working as soon as you left school?
University was an option because of that career path I spoke about, but it became apparent probably at the end of year 12 that I wouldn't be going to university because I failed every single one of my mock exams, like U's in everything, because I wasn't academically driven, like I said before. So once I decided that uni wasn't for me and like realistically being a police officer wasn't for me, I was back to the drawing board really. I had no idea what to do.
What interested you in an apprenticeship? What are the pros and cons of an apprenticeship?
The pros of apprenticeships are, like I said, you're getting real world experience. I think it's more common nowadays that if you apply for a job, experience is probably more valued over qualifications. That's what I'm seeing anyway. So if you can get out at your earliest opportunity and actually gain some work experience, that's only going to benefit you. You get paid. So on the flip side, if you go to university, yes, you gain a qualification, but you do come out with quite a lot of debt, tens of thousands of pounds more often than not. You have no debt if you pass an apprenticeship. You only have the money that you've been paid to do it, and you gain a qualification that you can apply to various things in your career.
How did you find your Microsoft apprenticeship?
I came across a website called notgoingtouni.co.uk, which I think is still going, so you know, if anyone hasn't heard of that, definitely go and look at it. And it listed nationwide apprenticeship schemes, so any apprenticeship schemes all over the country that were currently recruiting or were going to be recruiting in the next few months. It helped you, gave you sort of tips in terms of personal statements and CVs, because the personal statements we had to write in sixth form here were very focused around university and UCAS, but obviously writing applying to an organisation is completely different. So I found it through not going to university. Not going to uni.co.uk.
Are you still doing the same job you applied for, and do you enjoy it?
So I'm not still doing the job I started at Microsoft. So I started in September 2016 on an 18-month level 3 apprenticeship. So a level 3 apprenticeship is the equivalent to an A-level. So I did that. That was sort of a data analyst sort of role. And again, during the application process, I would have accepted anything. You could either apply for the business side or the technical side, and I'm not like an IT technical guy. I'm much more business focused. And I basically said to myself I would accept anything they offered me just for the experience, because I thought it's 18 months. If I don't enjoy it, at least if I can get my head down and, you know, commit to the 20% of my time studying, because that's all the apprenticeship is 20% of your working time is spent studying, so a day a week. I thought if I could do that for 18 months, even if I don't like the job, at least I'll get the qualification, at least I'll have the experience, and I would have got paid, really. So after that, I finished that apprenticeship, and in January 2018, I moved on to another apprenticeship, which was a technical sales apprenticeship, and I'm still in that team now.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Still at Microsoft?
I do see myself still at, well, I'd like to be, and I get, because I missed out that part on the last question, because I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. Microsoft looks after its employees really, really well. It's a fast-paced company, so you have to sort of be willing to adapt to various different scenarios. But Microsoft is a really, really great place to work. It's all I've ever known, so maybe it would be worth me branching out at some point and seeing what other organisations are like. But at the moment, for where I am, I have no need to really. I love it there, and it you know, it helps me to live how I want to live. I really enjoy it.
Thank you, Harry. That concludes our interview today. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us your career's journey.
Thank you for having me.
And now we welcome Hannah Thomas, who started Waingels in September 2013 and left Waingels sixth form in 2020 after completing A-levels. We look forward to speaking with her today about her career as a paramedic. Thank you for agreeing to come on our podcast today.
Thank you, and hello.
I'm currently in Year 9 and I'm in the process of taking my GCSE options. Striking your mind back to 2015 when you were in Year 9 and thinking about your GCSE options, which ones did you take and why did you decide on these?
I chose German, History, Business Studies and BTEC Sports Science. I think it might have changed a bit now, but at the time we had to choose a language. It was compulsory to have a language, and then it was between history and geography. I chose German because it was my main language. I was quite good at it from what my teachers said. History I always found more interesting than geography. I just liked learning about history of things more than anything. I did business studies because it just seems like quite a broad subject that would cover a lot of things, because at the time I didn't know what I wanted to do post 18 really, so I thought I'd keep my options quite broad. And I did sports science because at the time I was very into my netball, so I thought it would be a good option in case I did decide I wanted to go down more of a sports route.
I'm currently in Year 10 and next year I'll be thinking about my post-16 options. Why did you choose to stay on in the Waingels sixth form?
Well, I obviously went from Year 7 into Year 11 with Waingels. It was obviously what was familiar to me. I got to know all my teachers really well. I stayed in sixth form just because I know the teachers were really supportive with like all my options in terms of what I wanted to do with university and whatnot. And they were just really good to me with all my A-level choices and what they had to offer, and there was a lot that Waingels did have to offer at the time. I think they've actually offered more nowadays than they did when I was there. But it was just familiarity and knowing what the teachers would be like, and I didn't really like the idea of going somewhere completely new and having to know a whole load of new people and new teachers.
Did your GCSE options have any influence on the subjects you wanted to take for A-level, and what subjects did you take for A-level?
I took history, business and biology. Obviously that quite correlates well with my GCSE options. I ended up doing history again because I still loved the subject, was really interested in it and did quite well in it at GCSE. And when I went to the sixth form open evenings, they explained what we'd learn about, and it was something that interested me because I did about Russia and China. I did business studies again because it keeps my options broad. It's always quite a safe subject to go for to keep things open for me in the future. And at the time, she's obviously not here anymore, Miss Rowley was really good to me at GCSE and A level. It was just a really good subject to have, and I still use it now realistically, and even in my job as a paramedic. And at that point I sort of knew I wanted to go towards healthcare, so biology was an option I sort of felt I had to take. I was interested in it anyway, but it seemed like an option I should take if I wanted to pursue anything in healthcare, otherwise they probably wouldn't want me anyway.
Did you know you always wanted to be a paramedic? How did this career path influence your post-18 options?
I didn't know I always wanted to be one. Most people say they've known they'd wanted to be one from a really young age. I didn't. It was sort of around when I joined sixth form that I realised I did want to go into something to do with healthcare, because I liked the idea of helping people, but I just didn't know in what area I wanted to do that in. So I sort of went on the NHS website, looked at what jobs they offered, because I was leaning towards midwifery or paramedic science. Midwifery did seem interesting. It would have been something I would have pursued if I hadn't looked more into the paramedic role. I just went on, round here at South Central Ambulance Service, so I went on their website, looked at what they do, what services they offer, things like that, and the job just seemed right for me because it was just so diverse, and even now no day is the same as another. University wise, it was a lot of looking at the facility, going to the open days and seeing what facilities they have, just as some universities had a lot more outdated healthcare facilities than others. Some did their placements different to others. It was just what I thought would work for me. I ended up in Northampton with East Midlands Ambulance Service and then came back home, but it was not something I knew I wanted to do until I got into sixth form, which is, I think a lot of people see it as reassurance that they don't have to know from the get-go what they want to do, and even the subjects I took weren't directed at that particular subject. All they want is a biology or a science and that's it, which was quite good for me really.
Since graduating from university, what can you tell us about the life of a paramedic? Do you enjoy it, and do you think you've chosen the right career path?
It's, as I said, it's different every day. No day is the same at all in my job. I can literally go from picking old ladies up off the floor to people that have broken limbs to car accidents. It's one extreme to another. I never know what I'm going out to. It's always exciting, it's always really rewarding. I do think I've chosen the right career path for me because there are so many directions I could go with it from now. It seems like quite limited at the time when you do a paramedic science degree, you think, oh my god, that's the only job I can go for now. But they've given me so many options of what I can do later down the line.
What is the interview process like for paramedics? Do you have to showcase any practical skills previously learnt?
For university we had to do interviews. That was just a sort of, why do you want to be a paramedic? They did a few, depending on the university, it was either solo interviews or group interviews. The group interviews were more like where your ethics are, where your morals are. They did the whole, you're on a boat, who do you want to save type thing. There were a few practical scenarios. They wanted to see that we could do CPR for 2 minutes straight without getting tired, that kind of thing. The interview process when I left university was just one-on-one Teams interview, just saying why I wanted to work for this particular service, what I stood for, what I thought could change in the world of being a paramedic, that kind of thing. They did ask me to do, they call it an OSCE, it's just a practical exam. So they'll give me a scenario and I have to show them what I would do in that scenario. So it would be something like, they'd say, oh, someone's having a seizure in a public place, what are you going to do about it? And I just have to talk through it with them and show them that I do know what I'm doing, really.
That's really interesting. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Still with the South Central Ambulance?
I'd like to hope so, because I'm still obviously quite fresh in my job. I do want to stay on the road on ambulances for quite a bit before I think about anything else, but I have considered doing my master's degree so I can start prescribing and work in a GP surgery when I'm older, just if I want a more balanced shift pattern than what I'm on at the moment. Just as the moment it's days and nights, and I could go to a 9 to 5 when I'm a bit older if I really wanted to. But I'm hoping I'll stay on the road for quite a few more years, really.
That's nice. Thank you, Hannah. That concludes our interview for today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing us with your career journey.
Thank you for having me.
And now we welcome Anthony Crossman, who started Waingels in September 2009 and left Waingels sixth form in 2016 after completing his A-levels. We look forward to speaking with him today about his post-18 choices and why he has chosen to take up a PhD in bioengineering. Thank you for agreeing to come on our podcast today. Welcome, Anthony.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
So I'm currently in year 10, and next year I'll be thinking about my post-16 options. Why did you choose to apply and further your education in the Waingels sixth form?
So I chose to stay at Waingels because, well, I really enjoyed my time from year 7 to year 11 there. I also continued, all my A-levels that I chose were module or subjects that I had taken from GCSE. So I knew my teachers already, and I felt I already had a good relationship with them. I was also fortunate enough to have a nice group of friends that were also planning to stay on at sixth form. So for me, having that comfort of knowing what I was getting into really helped me move from that transition from that stage of GCSE into A-levels.
And what subjects did you take for A-level? Did your GCSE options have any influence on the subjects you wanted to take for A-level?
For A-level, I did maths, further maths and physics. And I would say that, yes, my GCSE options did have a influence, as GCSEs were a really broad range of subjects. So I could really see what I enjoyed, what subjects maybe came slightly more naturally to me. And those having that chance to understand a bit further all these subjects really let me get to the A-levels that I thought were right for me.
Did you know you always wanted to work in the engineering industry, and how did this career path influence your post-18 options?
I didn't always know that I wanted to do engineering, but I did sort of, as we moved through school, understand that my sort of interests and what I enjoyed in school was very sort of maths and physics heavy. Those were always the subjects that maybe the concepts came a little bit quicker to me than other ones. Anything to do with writing and essay based, particularly creative writing, just isn't my bag. It's not what I'm good in. And so going to the engineering side, or at least the STEM based side, was really where I could see myself going. Bit of engineering came when I started researching my university places for after sixth form, and seeing that there was this whole world where I could apply the fundamentals that were being taught in maths and physics to not just understand the theory behind them and understand maybe why things work, but being able to almost be creative in a sense within the world of STEM to work out how we can create new things and overcome obstacles with these fundamental knowledge was really appealing to me. And that's why I ended up in the world of engineering.
Wow, amazing. And once you left Waingels sixth form, where did your studying take you next?
So I went straight from sixth form into university. I studied at the University of Surrey. the way that engineering can work is you can do something that's called an integrated master's degree, which means normally if you want a master's, you do a 3-year study to get a bachelor's degree and then a further year of study to get a master's. Whereas there's options in engineering to do all 4 years in one go and come out with one degree afterwards, so a master's degree in that. In this degree, I was also able to take 1 year out to go on a placement year, so work for a year. It was all still with the university, so they still checked in on me. So I did 2 years of university, then 1 year out working at a company called GlaxoSmithKline. So you may recognize their logo from things like Panadol and Sensodyne. They're a pharmaceutical company, and I was in the engineering site, which was in Hertfordshire. And then I did 2 more years of study, which got me my master's. Having that opportunity to do a placement year was really important because although I enjoyed that year and I liked the people I worked with and I got on well with them and everything, being in that industry lost the sense of sort of creativity that I was saying with engineering. It was very much things were already in place and we just had to make sure that they continued in that way. And I really enjoyed during my degree the ability to sort of find problems and find solutions to them in that sort of almost creative way. And so that's why I thought the placement year was important, because it showed me that actually I think my heart lies with sort of the research side.
Sounds like it has been a busy few years for you. Since graduating with a master's degree, what can you tell us about the next phase of your research and what exactly is it that you do and how will this PhD help people in the future?
So when I finished my master's degree, like I say, because of the placement year, I decided that more research or going into research was where my heart lay. So in the final year of my degree, I started looking into how I can get into research and how I can apply for funding so that someone pays me to do it, which is the ultimate bit. Unfortunately, I found out this is like limited spaces and it's very competitive and it's quite a hard process to go through. But if you want it, you've got to sort of go through it. I was fortunate that there was a funding scheme at the time where they were funding PhD students to do research in what's called prosthetics and orthotics. So sort of like replacement limbs and different braces and things that we use to help people moving normally. And this funding got me into Imperial College in London. And the project that I'm working on is a project where we are trying to understand the movement of the foot and the ankle and the muscles that we have around there and how the joints move when we're walking. And also when we may have something wrong with us that means we can't walk in a normal, healthy way. We can see what this changes on the inside, which is quite tricky to do. The goal of it is that once I have completed my research, we should have a tool in which we can almost test out operations and understand how they affect the way that we walk to try and get over issues that people may have with their foot and ankle. So, you know, arthritis, it's common to have that in the ankle. And at the moment, we don't really have too many ways of getting over it. And although it's really common, we don't necessarily know how our treatments actually affect the inside of the body. And the treatments at the moment aren't that successful. So we want to be able to test them first and understand maybe why we're not getting that much of a success in that area when like knee replacements and hip replacements are really common and really successful. Why aren't ankle replacements in that category?
Wow. And do you enjoy it? Have you chosen the right career path?
Yes, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy having that problem that I am trying to get through. For me, I don't think I could see myself anywhere else at this point in my life. I really like the idea of research and I really, enjoy the problems that it brings. It is, it's difficult. It's hard because you're just working by yourself. There's not a group of people that, you know, can help you get through the problem. It's your problem. So if you leave it one day at the end of the day and something's not working, when you come back in the next morning, it's still not working. But then you sort of live for that point where it suddenly does work. And then it all is like, and this is why I've done this. It's a real high.
What influenced you into this field of work?
So the influence, there's a few different ones. There's not one key influence that I can definitely say, right, that's why I did it. Like I said, the influence into engineering was partly, quite a lot down to my A-level teachers. So there were teachers at school that did maths at the time called the Billingtons, and the passion that they showed for their teaching of maths and everything really got me on board with it. I got really interested and really enjoyed my A-level maths. But like I say, applying that in an engineering field was where my interest lay. So their interest lay in maths, and I could bring that same enthusiasm to the engineering. I've also always been interested in understanding how the body works, or just the human body, but not in a biology sense where we're looking at the cells and all the processes. That's not necessarily my strong bit. So where I can apply the maths and physics knowledge that I had to the human body, that really appealed to me. And then the other influence is, believe it or not, I'm actually quite a big fan of the sport of strongman. So you may have seen it on at Christmas, where you've got these like big men picking up like logs or pulling trucks or lifting up big stones. And it just sort of occurred to me like, wow, the human body can lift these really heavy things. How much strain can we put it under? Is there a perfect way of doing these things? Can we find the perfect movement that makes us our strongest and safest, that we don't injure? So really, like, optimizing and finding the perfect human movement is a real inspiration for me. And also being in a field of work where potentially what the outcome is can influence people's lives and help them live more pain-free or healthier. I don't think there's a better motivation to get out of bed in the morning than being in that sort of area.
And finally, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Still researching at Imperial College?
If I can be, then yes. I'm enjoying my time here. I'm enjoying London. I enjoy the colleagues that I have at Imperial. The way that sort of the academic field works is it's common that you move around universities to gain experience of different departments. And then your ultimate goal is to get a permanent position somewhere. If I can get that at Imperial, then I'd really like that. But yes, certainly somewhere in research in my field would be where I think I'll be in 10 years' time, or where I would like to be at least.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony. That concludes our interview for today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us your careers journey.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed that.
And lastly, welcome Nicola Robertson, who started Waingels in September 2015 and left Waingels sixth form in 2022 after completing her A-levels. We look forward to speaking with her today about her post-18 career options. Thank you for agreeing to come on our podcast today. Welcome, Nicola.
Thank you and hello.
I'm currently in year 9 and I'm in the process of taking my GCSE options. Going back to 2018, when you were in year 9 and thinking about your GCSE options, what options did you choose and why did you decide on these options?
I chose drama, media, history and German, mainly just because they really interested me. I wasn't thinking anything long term. I thought I just have a passion for these subjects, so why not? And media was something I hadn't really done because it wasn't really offered to my year in year 7 and 8. So I wanted to try something new and challenge myself because I was never really an artsy person, but I just really liked the theory behind it.
I am currently in year 10 and next year I'll be thinking about my post-16 options. Why did you choose to stay on in the Waingels sixth form?
Well, who wouldn't? That's my first question. But I really just enjoyed my time here up to GCSE at Waingels. I really loved all the teachers. They knew me and all the subjects I was going to continue to take, all of them just knew who I was. So I thought, perfect, they know how I like learning. And yeah, and all my friends were here as well, which was another bonus. But yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Did your GCSE options have any influence on the subjects you wanted to take for A-level? What subjects did you take for A-level?
Well, kind of. I did take history and drama for my A-levels, but I decided not to take media, not because I didn't enjoy it, just because I wanted to do something new, and criminology was just introduced for my year, and I'm really interested in crime and the theory behind it. So again, I was just like, let's change it up, and obviously I had a lot of time to think about it because I was the lockdown year, so I was contemplating between media and criminology, and then I just decided criminology was the way to go for me.
Please do tell us about your post-18 options. Are you at university, and did you take up an apprenticeship, or are you in full-time employment?
I am currently in an apprenticeship at BDO as an outsourced accountant.
Please can you give us any details about your work in accountancy and business advice? What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, day to day is pretty much just Excel, but is a little more exciting than that. It's lots of collaboration and meetings with different clients and businesses. I work with a lot of charities that are local. I work with hospitality, like big chains, and it's really interesting to see their expenses and income day in, day out, so we can advise them on maybe if they're looking for a new investment, or whether they're looking to buy a building, for example. We can tell them whether they're in the correct financial position to do that. I also help with billing, and I help with making payments on behalf of clients, so they don't have to worry about any of that. So we kind of just act as an internal finance, like we're one of the team, which is something I was really interested in, just reading the job description, because I like feeling a part of something bigger.
And do you enjoy it? And for you, have you chosen the right career path?
Well, I am still quite young to the business world, and I think it is tricky to say just a year and a half later that this job is perfect for me, even though I really do enjoy it. I just don't know where I can see myself in 10 years' time. I am hoping to do the next qualification called ACCA, because this is an equivalent to a master's, so I thought it was an easy pathway to get something that I can really feel proud of. But who knows, in the next 10-15 years what my life will look like, because who knows, I'm still just as clueless as I was in sixth form, but that's okay. So I'm quite happy with where I am at the moment though.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Nicola, for coming on and chatting about your options and careers journey today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in today's Careers podcast. Bye for now.